Hello everyone. Good evening. I welcome you all on behalf of Vartana webinar series. So, for this quarter, we are focusing on a theme called school development and growth. So, today we'll be exclusively focusing on school management. So, the webinar topic is Mastering School Management Key Strategies for Success. So, one thing is that Vartana will be providing participation certificate for the participant who are participating throughout the session. So I'll tell about what are the steps to follow to receive the participation at the end of the webinar. Kindly stay tuned throughout the webinar. And a kind request to all the participants, please be engaged throughout the session because this is an important session at the right time we are organizing. So it would be great if all the audience could share your opinions, points, or if you have any doubts you want to clarify, this would be the best platform to do the same. Let's quickly move on to our today's webinar. Let's look at the agenda of the day. So today, the agenda is we'll start with an introduction. Basically, we'll do a small poll. We'll discuss the session objective. Then we'll move on to look at what is the definition of school management and importance and role of the school management in school growth. Then we'll look at the strategies for school management, followed by Vartana program. Then we'll close the session with the feedback form. So under introduction, I'll be launching a poll right now to understand the participant profile. Kindly select the relevant option and submit the same. If you are school leader or principal, you can select that option. You have school coordinator, teacher, third party solution providers, and others. Kindly select so we have a better understanding about the participants. So far only 50% of the audience have selected. I would request everyone to please select the option so that we can move forward. I'll wait for a minute. So I'm going to publish the result. So as you can see in today's webinar, we have most of the participants are school leader and principal. We are glad that we have a lot of people engaged in today's session. So this is going to be very useful session for all of the people who are participating. Let's go back to the session. So we'll look at the session objective. In today's session, we have three main objectives. The first one is to understand what is the impact of school management on the institutional growth, right? And then we'll also look at what are the components which are part of the school management and what are the effective tools or framework we have so that we can use to make sure we are becoming excellent in school management. Let's move forward. Coming back to understand what is school management is that it's a goal oriented activity, as I said earlier. Why? Because there are several factors which runs within the institution, right? Be it like staff management, fee collection, resource management, there is admission. A lot of things are running side by side within the management. So it's like a entire teamwork to organize effectively and manage the entire operations of the school. So that is what school management is about. It is very, very necessary to maintain a positive learning environment as well as maintaining that academic excellence. So that's why school management is important. So coming back to, we now understand what is school management, but also let's to understand the importance of school management is. Let's see two cases here. First is what is the impact of inefficient school management. So the very first one is poor academic performance, right? When you are unable to manage your school operations, student outcome learnings might be affected, teacher may not get the proper training, or teacher may not be very involved in academic line. Basically, that results in poor academic performance, which also results in student strength decrease, right? You might see parents are very less engaged, they move to other school which is performing better in the community, and it's also become very difficult to retain the quality staffs because the staffs want some kind of professional development for them, and there is a lot of lack of accountability within all the stakeholders, and your reputation is getting affected. So these are all the results or impact of inefficient school management. Whereas if you look at the positive side, what happens if you have an efficient or effective school management in place? The very first thing is academic excellence, because you know what is your student current learning level. You onboard certain programs, you onboard certain trainings for the teachers so that they are helping the students to achieve the learning outcome better. You encourage lot of innovative educational practices, thereby teachers are satisfied with their job and they retain, right? The quality teachers get retained, and you have a very effective discipline and behavior management in place. All these will eventually result in financial sustainability because your enrollment is increasing, your parent engagement is increasing, fee collection is also getting, you are able to consistently collect fees. And finally, this will have a huge impact on your trust and reputation within the community. Let's also look at what is the role of school management in school growth, right? First one is it helps you to design the goals and policy for your school, right? You might have like through school management you can decide what is your short term goal you want to achieve, what is a long term goal you want to achieve, what are the policies which will be suitable to achieve the same. Secondly, you know which direction you have to take with respect to school development, whether I should focus on my student or teacher or parent, right? Once you know which direction you want to take, you can plan efficiently and implement the plan. And also you can manage your resources very effectively. You know where you want to put your money in, where you want your use your teachers, in what kind of activity you want to involve them, how you want to use your community. All this can be managed very well through school management. And also it will help you to identify what are the challenges you are facing with respect to educational aspect in your institution. It will help you to decide certain standards and norms for your school, and also allocate duties and responsibilities so that everyone knows, yes, I am accountable for this kind of work, I will be delivering the same. And finally you can also have a effective evaluation in place so that you can see how your school is growing with the help of school management. Let's now, since we talked about what is school management, importance, and role, let's get in detail about the school management, right? There are seven main components of school management. So, if you want to be excellent in school management, all these seven factors need to be in a better place. The very first thing is leadership. Second thing is strategic planning. Third one is curriculum development and assessment. Fourth one is human resource management, then financial management, then come infrastructure and facility, and finally stakeholder engagement and communication. So what we are going to do right now is that we are going to look at each and every component. What is this component? And you're going to look at what is the tool and framework which will help you to like efficiently use the particular component, thereby making sure your you are excellent in school management. The very first one is leadership, right? So why leadership is important, right? The school owners are the like the foundation of your school institution, so they should have a very strong leadership skill with a clear vision where I want to take my school in the next coming year, like 5 years or 10 years, right? Once the school leader have a strong vision, he or she will provide the direction or guidance to other stakeholders, how to shape the institution, how to achieve goals and objectives, right? With respect to leadership, there are several types of leadership, but I would like to discuss these five important leadership here. So the first type is called democratic leadership. So what is this democratic? The name itself says that that particular school owner or school leader takes any kind of decision by consulting each and every stakeholder of the school, right? Say for example you want to bring a new program to school, so he will have a meeting with all the staff, he will discuss with them, he will take their opinions and then come to a conclusion. It's a very efficient and effective leadership. But one thing to be very careful about is that this particular leadership style cannot be used during emergency time when you have to take decision immediately. There is some crisis gonna happen or some crisis happening. When you want to take decision immediately, this particular leadership style may not be the best. In the rest of the case, this would be more applicable. The second one is autocratic. As the name says, here the school leader has the entire authority, right? He or she holds him or herself above everyone, and he just gives like input or like directions, orders to the subordinate, and subordinate just follows. I would say this particular leadership style is not going to be very efficient in these days, because there is a lot of stakeholders who have like very good exposure and they also want to contribute to the institutional growth. Third one is transformational leadership. This is one awesome leadership style where the school leader inspires others to achieve unexpected things, basically unlocking their potential, right? By motivating them, by encouraging them, you are making sure each and every one in your team is improving and bringing that essence to the institution. Fourth one is transactional. Here, the school leader is completely task oriented. So he used transaction mode for everything, right? When you achieve particular task, he will reward the subordinates or his team members. So everything is action and reward based concept for him. Final one is coach style leadership. So here what this particular leader do is that he act as a coach. What do coach do? Coach knows what is the strength and weakness of his or her team. He knows like where one will perform better, and he give opportunities for them to perform better in those circumstances, as well as develop the area of development, basically focus on the area of development and thereby nurture them as well. So these are different leadership style. I would say most of them are applicable in almost all situation, but I would encourage everyone to try different leadership style and see which suits more for you and the situation given. Before moving on to the next, I like to launch a poll here to get an understanding. So now that we discussed like five leadership style, right? I just want to understand, among all these five, which leadership style would you prefer, or you're currently practicing? Anything might be working, right? Which one would you prefer? So we have like a good number of participants. Only 25% of the vote has been registered. Please, submit your relevant options so that we know like how most of the people want which type of leadership to be in place. I'm going to publish the result. So as you can see in the result, most of the people are voted for democratic and followed by transformational, right? I think we are on the right path, because even I as an individual feel like democratic and transformational are the one which is gonna have a long time effect or impact in the institution. Let's move to the next. So here in leadership, we are going to consider two things, right? Um, like there are a lot of things in the slide, so I will tell you where to focus right now. If you see in the x-axis, there is a graph here, right? If you see in the x-axis, it's talk about concern for result. Like the school leader is more worried about the result or outcome, right? So the left hand saying the low and right hand side will be the highest. Whereas if you see in the y-axis, the vertical one, it says concern for people. Here, the school leader like worried about relationship. He has a lot of concern towards his team members, right? So, with respect to this particular axis, we have five different leadership style. Let's start from the lowest one, the red one, which is like low concern. I mean, like low concern for people as well as low concern for result. It is called impoverished leadership. Basically, this school leader is kind of very disengaged or uninvolved in any kind of school activity. He just runs the school. That's all he does, right? Whereas if you see the second one, the yellow one, which is called produce or perish leadership, it says that concern for people is very low, but concern for result is high. So here is like do or die type, right? I really don't worry about my team members well-being, but I want the result to be achieved, which might sound different, but again this is not a very welcoming leadership in the long term as well, because this particular person is more toward production and target, less towards people. He don't have people or quality staffs retained in his institution. Whereas if you see the third one, the middle one, which is called administrative leadership, this particular leader try to balance between concern for people and concern for result, right? He try to achieve outcome by engaging optimum level of people. So that what this administrative leadership looks like. The fourth one is country club leadership, the blue one. Here if you see, this particular school leader has high concern for people and less worried about the result, right? I would say this is some kind of very like different or ideal leadership style, where the particular leader is focused on building positive relation among people and less worried about result. Again, in the current scenario, this leadership style may not be suitable because we want to also simultaneously make sure our academic are achieving the best result. So, the best or the most suitable leadership will be the last one, which is in green color, called team leadership. This particular school leader has high concern for his people as well as high concern for result. He makes sure that his team members' well-being is maintained to maximum as well as they are able to achieve the expected result out of them. So, I would ask everyone to just take a couple of minutes, reflect where your leadership style is currently lying, right? When you compare with people as well as result, where you're currently there, right? Be it in red, yellow, or pink, whatever color right now, then see where you want to move ahead, right? For me, the best would be team leadership. So I want to moving to the best one, which is in the right top corner. So how should I do it? So it's better to know where you are currently, and then you focus your efforts in becoming the best leadership which you are following. So this is with respect to leadership. Let's move on to the next component of the school management, which is called strategic planning. So we all know, to achieve any kind of goals, there is an equal importance for leadership skill as well as equal importance for planning. Because if you plan effectively, half of the done is almost half of the work is almost achieved, right? There are many tools to do planning, like even we have discussed earlier in our webinar, there are different tools to do planning. Here I'm going to show a simple yet powerful tool to do planning. It is called where and how model. The very first one is called where we are, right? So you should know where you are currently with respect to one goal which you want to achieve, right? How you can do that? You can do an environmental scan, you can do a situational analysis or SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, or you can get some background information from the parents. We'll simultaneously discuss with an example so that it's very easy to relate what which tool we are using, right? For example, you have done a SWOT analysis for a school, right? And you got to know that outperforming teachers, the very best teachers of your institution, are leaving. You're finding it difficult to retain the quality staffs. So that is the challenge which we are going to address. So you know where you are. My quality staffs are leaving the institution. The second thing is called where we want to be. Here you talk about your mission, vision, your goal you want to achieve, your specific objective you want to achieve, where you want to be with respect to that particular goal. So with, well, coming back to the example, so what I want to have or where I want to be, I want all my teachers to perform very well, as well as I want to retain them effectively. This is the place I want to be as a school leader. Now, third one, how will we do it? Now we should ask certain question. Okay, I know where I want to be, but how should I do it? What steps I should do? Here comes your action plan. What are the initiatives you're going to take? What are the projects you're going to onboard? How are you going to measure? I mean, like, what is the performance measurement you have? What is the target you are having, right? So here, as a school leader, I might create an individual development plan for each and every teacher and organize some kind of training so that they are professionally getting developed through the institution. Because some school leaders might be wondering, why should I invest on teacher training, right? Teacher, if you have to invest on a teacher training, because they are the one who is going to teach in the classroom, that is the result which you're going to see from the student learning outcome. So the teacher training as well as your institutional growth is directly related and directly proportional. And what's a school leader, I can also encourage them to pursue some online courses, give them some ideas, brainstorm with them what area they need to focus, which skill they have to develop. So this is the action plan I'm having in place. The final one is, how are we doing, right? So once you know what you're going to do, once you start doing it, it's very important to assess whatever you're doing, to make sure there is no deviation in your plan or there is no deviation from the goal you're going to achieve. So how what we can do, you can do review progress, you can like measure their performance, you can take some corrective actions, you can collect feedback and do some plan revision. So what I'll do as a school leader, I will like assess my teacher performance and see how they're performing in the classroom and modify their individual development plan. So the idea here is that you can use this simple tool, where and how to tool, for any particular goal you want to achieve by seeing where you are, where you want to be, how will you do it, and how are you doing it, right? So this is the second important component of school management. Next, moving forward, the third important component of school management. Before that, we'll have a small discussion here. See, as we said earlier, there is a lot of tool you might have used in planning, right? Um, Earlier we have discussed like 5E plan, like SWOT analysis. There are a lot of planning tools which we also discussed in our webinar. But I want to hear from you, what is the planning tool you have used in your school at any point of time? And you have felt that this particular tool is very effective for my school. Can you name some, or what is the methodology you're following for planning? So please put your inputs in chat Q&A box so that we can see what planning tool have you used earlier, like either during COVID time or post pandemic time, or even before that, for any kind of stakeholders, for teachers, students, parents. Like how do you actually do any kind of plan? If you can't remember the tool name of framing, it's completely okay. If you can just talk a brief about it, or you can raise your hand. I think yeah, we've got one input in the Q&A. Mobile labs, yes, we have a lot of application softwares which is available, which helps you to plan your day or plan certain things with respect to certain objective. Yes, LMS is a very useful one. Of course, LMS is a useful tool. Teachment, wonderful. Teachment is also a useful tool to do planning. Any other tool anybody has like explored apart from mobile labs, LMS, and teachment? Okay. Meanwhile, we'll look into the third tool. So yeah, the idea here is to understand what are the different tools you have used so that we can have a cross learning from each other. What are the other tools which is available? Somebody has mentioned about Google Labs. Yes, Class Plus for you doing planning. Great. Let's move forward and go to the third school management tool. Microsoft Teams, teacher training is key. Yes, of course, Sandeep sir, Lokesh sir. So the third important tool for school management is curriculum development and assessment. So we have talked about leadership planning. The third important is the curriculum and the assessment, which is you're following in an educational institution, because it should be very balanced and relevant to the particular era, basically, right? So how do you want to do it? Like which tool you can do? So here's a simple tool which we have mentioned. We'll discuss along with an example here. The very first thing is you have to do a need analysis, right? You have to understand what is the need with respect to curriculum I'm having in my school. Say, for example, I got to know through an assessment that grade 5 to 8 students are performing very low in English and Maths. Yeah. The second step would be situational analysis. You're trying to understand why this is happening, right? What is the situation which might be the reason behind this? Say, for example, same teachers are teaching English and Maths for all these classes. You have two teachers, one for English who teaches from grade 5 to 8, and same, you have another teacher for Maths who teaches from grade 5 to 8. You got to know the same teacher is teaching like classes from grade 5 to 8, these two subjects. Then the third step is planning your learning outcomes, what you want to achieve, right? Say, for example, by next quarter, that is in 3 months, I want to increase the learning outcome in English and Math for these grades by 25%. The fourth step would be course organization. Which direction you're going to do, which direction you're going to take. I'm going to have teacher training plus remedial classes. The fifth step would be selecting and preparing teacher material. So once you know which part to take, it's very necessary to take the right course or right actions, right? So you're going to choose the remedial course which will be suitable for your students, as well as you're going to look for teacher training which is more suitable for these two teachers to increase their performance. Sixth one is provide efficient teacher training. This is with respect to the program you have onboarded. Say, for example, you have onboarded one remedial course. it is very important. You have to train your teachers how to implement this program in the classroom efficiently, right? And then final step would be evaluation. Here we get to know whether our direction, our plan, or our action is actually working or not, right? You can reassess the learning outcome, and you can see where you are currently standing, and you can navigate your the next quarter goals. This process will keep on repeating. So how will you do your curriculum development? Understand your need, plan accordingly, select right course and material, and do an evaluation. So this is one simple way to understand your curriculum development and assessment. So here I'm going to launch one small poll to understand from you. Like, the question here is, which stakeholder group do you think should have the most significant role in informing situational analysis for efficient curriculum development and assessment, right? So to decide on efficient curriculum development and assessment, and to understand the situational analysis, which stakeholder you should given the most significant role, right? So people are voting. Like, so far we got 30% of the vote. I'll be waiting for 1 more minute to get the vote. So which stakeholder, whether teachers, students, parents, school administrator, who do you think plays a significant role in understanding the situational analysis with respect to curriculum development? 50% of vote we have having right now. I'm going to publish the result, right? So as you see, as many of you suggested, teachers play a significant role. There is no right or wrong answer, but considering teachers play a significant role is very important, because they are the one who knows what is expected from the management, what the particular student can do, how are they currently doing it, what is feasible for our institution. So they have this 360-degree view. So it would be best if they play a significant role in deciding the situational analysis for the effective curriculum development. The fourth important component of school management is human resource management. So, like, from our experience, I think many of the school leader might agree that getting a quality staff in the school and retaining them is kind of very difficult task for any school leader given any day, right? Because there are like a lot of things are running in behind, and you need to have quality staff so that you know or you can trust them, your institutional growth with them, right? So to do this efficiently, we have a very simple tool here to address the same. It starts with HR planning, right? Say, for example, what kind of school teachers you want to have in your school. You need to decide that my teacher, whoever I'm recruiting, should have these skills, or should have a greater understanding on pedagogy methodologies, or should have basic understanding on like what is NEP and how what is expected from them, and how are they going to play a role, or how they're going to teach classroom with different level of learning students, right? So you have to understand, and you have to design a job JD for them, basically a job description for them. Second thing is you have to attract employees, basically recruit them and select them. Make sure you are having an efficient recruiting process in place so that you select the quality staffs there only, right? You do not to like select, if you don't focus on recruiting properly, you might select someone and you get to know that they are not performing well in 3 or 4 months, which of course like a lot of time and resource waste as well, right? So it's important to have certain recruitment policies in place to get the right people onboarded. Third important thing is development employees. It's good to have recruiting the best people, but it's very important to develop them so that they are staying in your institution for longer period, because for anyone their professional career or development is more important or equally important like a school institutional growth. So what training or development you have in place for your employees, for your staffs? Fourth one is retaining employees. What are the other ways you can consider to retain them? Like, how are your compensation going to look like? What is the salary you are willing to pay? Or what are the what is the appraisal process looks like, right? Are you giving enough opportunity for them to understand, like, this is a skill set I have, and these are the things I have to develop. My school helps me to develop so that I get the salary which I want by developing all these skills. Are you having very transparent appraisal process in place? Also, do you have any other benefits, be it like health insurance or any other extra steps? You make sure that their well-being is also taken into consideration. These are the some of the ways to retain employees. So all these four factors, if you look here, are interconnected, right? It starts from planning, recruiting the right one, making sure you're developing them and retaining them. So we also have like sample HR policies in our like handout, which you can go through and see what are the some of the policy which you can look at and implement in your school, so that you are able to retain the outperforming staff as well. So now here, moving forward, I just would like to ask a small discussion question here. In the next slide, we'll look at what are the some of the additional strategy you think will be effective in retaining high quality staffs. Maybe you might have already practicing, or you have this idea or wanted to perform. So can you say some additional strategies to retain them? We talked about compensation, we talked about appraisal, we talked about health insurance, right? What are some of the other ways you think your staffs can be retained? Can you share the same in Q&A? Challenging them, yes, like you can give an opportunity for them to outgrow, like unlocking their potential. Of course that will help the like quality staffs to develop themselves. Yes, any other opinion to be shared? Please share it in the Q&A box. So there are few hands which are raised. I'm going to unmute. Dr. Salim sir, Kishore sir, I have unmuted. Please feel free to talk or share your opinions. You can unmute from your end and you can talk about it. Yes, meanwhile, yes, salary on time. It's very important, right? They have to get salary on time because that's something they need, like that external motivation should be there. No strategy, okay, not a problem. Involve teachers in framing school policy, of course. Like they should feel that I am part of the school growth. My input or my opinion are so valid. It plays an important role. You should give that sense to your teachers, give them freedom to implement their own strategy. And of course, right, this is also a great idea for them to explore the platform, right? Trusting them with their pedagogical skill is always welcome. That's a great input from everyone. And if you have any other input, please feel free to share. Eco-friendly staff group, yes, the peer group should be very very efficient to maintain that kind of eco-friendly thing. We have one more input in the chat box. I'll just read that as well. Regularly giving a target to achieve with observation and motivation. Yes, you should make sure that they are given certain targets and ways to achieve them. Wonderful. Moving forward, let's look at the fifth component. The most important component of school management is financial management. I know most of the school leaders spend a lot of time with respect to this particular thing. So here we are to try to understand how can we do this better or in an easy way, right? Because if you have a sound financial management, your institution is sustainable. You can onboard any program, you can recruit different teachers, you can bring anything into place for the development of the institution, right? Because finance is everything. So this simple tool is called urgent and important matrix. This particular matrix can be used for different purpose, but here we are going to look exclusively for financial management. So let's talk about, so in vertical, the y axis you have the bottom one as non-important and the top one as important. Whereas in x axis you have the left side as not urgent and the right side as urgent. Let's look one by one in detail. Let's talk about the first quarter, which is in green color, which says urgent as well as important. So if you like look at it, it falls under urgent and important quarter. So, what is this urgent and important? It's a critical financial task that is required for school stability. We will discuss in what are the example for them in the next slide. But let's try to understand, right? The second quarter, the yellow color, it's not urgent, but it is important. That is quarter two. It's not like immediately I want action today or tomorrow, but it's equally important. So this is strategic financial planning for educational excellence fall under this particular quarter. Quarter three, if you come here, the blue color, it falls under urgent. Yes, it's very urgent, but it's not important, right? This is like a routine financial operations and reporting. The final one is quarter four, which is in red color, which is not urgent as well as not important. These are non-essential financial activity for streamlined operation. Now let's look at the examples for each and every quarter in the next slide to understand better, right? So if you look at the first one, we are talking about the quarter, then description, then example. So what is the first quarter? It is urgent, it's important, right? These are the tasks which is very, very important for the functioning of the school. School stability and sustainability lies in these financial tasks. Like somebody mentioned, right? Giving salary on time, like giving certain benefits on time. And if you have some immediate crisis, like some urgent financial challenges which need to be addressed immediately, all these things come under this particular category, right? Your cash flow, like where you have certain important financial obligations to be met, all these fall under this particular quarter, which should have been given the highest importance. The second one is strategic financial planning for education excellence. This is like important. I mean, it's important, but it's not urgent, right? Yes, this is important, but need not to be done on day one or day two. What are these? These are long term goals which you want to achieve to make sure your academic is excellent in long term, right? Say, for example, I want to make my entire institution digitally empowered, right? Every classroom has digital classes and everyone has tablet. This is, of course, it's important to be digitally enabled, but it's not necessary they are doing it in the step like immediately, right? All these financial activities come under like your infrastructure which you want to, which has long term benefits. All these come under this particular quarter. The third quarter is that which is not which is urgent but it's not important. What do we mean by that, right? These are the financial activity which is very time sensitive, where immediate action is required, but it's not necessary the school owners should do that activities, right? You can delegate this particular financial activity to someone else so that you have some time where you need to focus on priority. Say for example, collecting monthly fees, some dedicated person can be there who can collect and who can give you a report on what is the income we got, what is the expense we did, right? All this routine thing on documentation, all these things can be taken care by some other person, where school leader can delegate that particular task to them. Final one is non-essential. It's not important, not urgent at all, right? Sometimes as a school leader we tend to like deep dive into certain activities which is not important, not urgent. That falls under this particular quarter, right? For example, particular activity which is not going to give any kind of outcome or benefit in long term as well does not require any kind of immediate attention at all, right? Say for example, if you want to have extra decoration for an infrastructure, if you want to do the repainting again, you already done a basic painting which is enough to have a like what do you call, environmental friendly or environment learning environment friendly, right? No need to overdo that. All these non-essential financial project will consume your finance, your time, your resource as well. So you can totally avoid these kind of non-essential activities. So why we are talking about this particular tool is that as I said earlier, we might not know which one to be prioritized, which one to leave, right? So if you put your financial activities in these four quarters, whatever falling under red one, you can totally avoid it, and you can prioritize the other three depending upon the situation. So this is one important tool. We'll also have a small poll to understand this tool much more better, right? So I'm going to launch a poll here. For a streamlined school operation, which non-essential financial activity would you consider re-evaluating or reducing, right? For example, the non-essential financial activity means quarter four. So according to you, what is that quarter four activity which either you can re-evaluate or reduce it as a school leader, right? It can be differ from school to school. There is no right or wrong answer. Just want to understand according to you what falls under quarter four. Only 18% of people have voted. I'll wait for one more minute for everyone to vote so that we can have a clear understanding about each and every quarter so that you can go back and work on these tools. It can be either facility enhancement or student events, administrative expenses, or what's in recognition. Okay, yes, I'm going to publish the result. So if you could see, most of the school leaders said about administrative expenses, right? Sometimes we tend to do a lot of administrative expenses, thinking that this gonna like give some kind of benefit or some kind of outcomes at the end of the day. which may not, right? Then the most voted would be like awards and recognition. We tend to do a lot of awards and recognition, which can be reduced according to a school situation. Wonderful. Moving on to the next school management component, it is called infrastructure and facility management. This is an important tool. Why? Because as a school leader, as a motivated school leader, you tend to get a lot of things for your school. Infrastructurally, you want to enable a school in a best learning environment, but somewhere the management of these all things may be very difficult, right? We have seen certain school who have got digital classes, but those digital classes are not efficiently used or not functioning as well. It's highly important to make sure you are managing this particular component effectively to attain the maximum output from them. So this infrastructure facility and management has three components to it. One is stakeholder healthy and safety. What do we mean by that? It is that whoever the stakeholder in your institution, students, staff, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, parents, whoever there within your institution, their health and safety are you should be your first priority. Your infrastructure management should focus more on that. Second thing is learning environment. How well conducing environment you have, like what kind of infrastructure you are having to support that kind of learning environment. And finally, capital planning. Why? Because infrastructure and facility, whichever you onboard, need to be managed, which might require some capital to be in place. So that also need to be considered. Let's look at a small like a sample checklist for each one of them to understand this better. Moving on to the next slide. So here we'll see stakeholder health and safety. The first one is this is a simple checklist which we have prepared. It can vary from school to school depending upon the resources or infrastructure availability, right? If you look at the first one, health and safety checklist, as a school leader, you can list on what all the things you have in place with respect to health and safety. Are all the classrooms are clean? Are the staff rooms, labs, everything is clean? Do the toilets are clean? Do the toilet have like proper water access? So everything you can list down and you can like check whether these are all satisfied. If there is nothing, if there is anything which is not satisfied, you can plan immediate action required. So this checklist, I would say, always have in place like a monthly checklist you can do or bi-weekly checklist you can do, whichever is feasible for you. But a frequent checklist would be encouraged. And you can see which area you are constantly focusing on, which need to be like constantly checked on. The second thing is learning environment checklist. As I said, you might have onboarded different programs, but are you aware whether these programs have been efficiently used or in function, right? For example, is computer are functioning? Do all the labs are necessary things? Do you have create appropriate books in library? Do you have enough chairs and benches? So I've listed down few to give a like outline of this particular checklist. Again, it depends upon your school infrastructure. Do this also as bi-weekly or monthly checklist, and whatever is not fulfilling the criteria, what is the action you're going to take? And final one is capital planning checklist. Since we already discussed about financial management, in this checklist also you can have three categories: not needed, in need, urgent. The urgent one can be focused immediately. In need can be focused when the resource, when you have the relevant resources. Not needed, you can completely omit, right? Here, according to your in like whatever infrastructure you're having, like if you want to take some action, say for example, I think I need an extra classroom for pre-primary, I think I need more cleaning staff, there is a need for security camera, whatever you hear, right? Whatever you think or you get to hear from your stakeholder, put down all of these things and do that financial management matrix, urgent important matrix, and see which one need to be given attention, and give attention to that particular one immediately on priority. Rest can be taken care later as well. We also include a sample checklist in the handout as well, which will be helpful for your school. But again, this is like customized one. You can always include whatever you want to include for your school. Next, moving forward, the last component of school management is stakeholder engagement and communication. Oh, sorry, I have a question here. Let's also, like, I think there are few things. Let's open the Q&A again. So we talked about infrastructure facility and school I mean, with respect to school management, right? As a school leader, how do you maintain and prioritize the infrastructure need of your school? Say, for example, you have a lot of programs onboarded in your school. As a school leader, how do you prioritize or how do you maintain? What strategy you follow, right? How do you do it efficiently in your school? If you could share your points, that would be great. Somebody asked that, can you all? Yes, we will be sharing samples and templates post this webinar, ma'am. Coming back to a question, like, how do you prioritize the infrastructure need or infrastructure management in your school? How do you do that efficiently in your school? Have you ever tried any other strategy, or you are wanted to try any strategy? You have something in mind you wanted to try. Is there anything like that? Please share it here. Okay, I think there is less response with respect to this particular thing. It's completely okay, because a lot of times as a school leader we may not thought about a framework or tool for facility management, but this plays an important role, because you have put a lot of money in building this infrastructure and facility which has to be maintained, and it should be maintained in efficient way so that your resources are not too consumed as well. Yeah, let's move to the last component, which is called uh, stakeholder engagement and communication. This is an important one component of school management. Why? Because is that a lot of times we have seen like a lot of school leader like trying to engage with all the stakeholders, right? Be it parents, students, teachers, or anyone in the local community or government officials, because engaging with the school stakeholders is important. But sometimes we might not have enough time to engage with everyone, right? So how do you do that efficiently? You have the stakeholder mapping tool, which helps you to decide which stakeholder I need to focus more, which stakeholder I can consider, which stakeholder I can like give less importance, right? So here is a graph again. If you look at the x-axis, the horizontal one, which talk about stakeholder interest, which means how much this particular stakeholder has interest in your institution, the left one being the low and the right one being the high. And if you look at the y-axis, it talk about stakeholder influence, right? What or how much influence this particular stakeholder has on my institution. It also bottom one talks like low and the top one is high. Here you have four categories. Let's start from the least one, the red one. This particular stakeholder has low interest in your school and low influence in your school. These are less important people, so you can like put them aside. Like you need not to like engage with them often. The second one, the blue one, which is called show consideration. These are the people who have high interest in your institution, but they don't have that kind of influence, right? These people come under show consideration bucket. The third one, yellow one, which is called meet their needs. These are the people who don't have much interest in your institution but has high influence, right? So they come under meet their needs bucket. Final one, these are the people who are called key players, who has like maximum interest or high interest in your institution and also a high influence in your institution. So these are the four category. Let's look at an example. Who are these people will be and how to engage them in the next slide. So these are the four category we have listed out down here. We look against the stakeholder and what kind of engagement you can have. Key players. These are the people who has high influence as well as high interest in your school. For example, the board members, or if you have any donors and sponsor, or the PTA leadership, the PTA head, or the community leaders. If, say for example, the chairperson of village panchayat or whatever it's there in your like in your local community. All these people comes under key players. So it's very important to engage with them regularly and like make sure that they are satisfied with your institutional work. Yeah. The second one is that meet their needs. So these are the people who has less interest in your institution but has high influence. For example, government authorities, right? They don't have interest in a single institution. Their goal is overall, but they have high influence. Their policy or their action might affect your institution. Or if you have any local regulatory bodies or any advisory boards, these are the people where you have to monitor them regularly and anticipate these are the need I might get from them, how I'm going to achieve. Like you have to meet their needs because these are the people who has high influence in your institution. Next one is show consideration. These are the people who has high interest in your school but don't have much influence. For example, there might be some very interested parents who want to who has like lot of interest for the school development, or any alumni students who has like lot of interest, the local community members as well, right? So these are the people, since they have a lot of interest, you have to inform them what's happening within your school, and also try to monitor them the close, because these are the people who are indirectly a branding, helps you in branding your school, right? Getting that reputation from your local community. These are the people who's going to do that. So it's important to do some kind of engagement with them. Last category is less important. So like some people within the community who doesn't have much influence or interest in your institution, or any vocational volunteers, or any business which doesn't have direct tie up with the school, right? You might get some people who randomly visit and want to talk with the school leader, getting some time for them where their product or program might not be very efficient or useful for your business. So here, just get the essential information from them, have minimal contact, have someone to contact them, allocate a person to directly involve or get to know what's happening around that, right? So why we are sharing this particular tool is, again, your time, your resource is very very important, because school leader plays a major role. So he or she has to focus on the most important task. So if you are able to engage your stakeholder through stakeholder mapping, you get a lot of time to focus on the most important task. So here again, I would like to launch a poll to understand your understanding on stakeholder mapping. Which of the individual listed below fall under the category of show consideration? So according to you, which are the people you think might come under show consideration? Only 9% of the people have voted. I would encourage everyone to please vote, so that it's very useful for us to understand where everyone understanding level lies in. Show consideration means basically like you don't need to give a lot of engagement, but again, they have so much of interest in a school but less influence. So I'm going to publish the result. Many of you have voted correctly, saying the former students, alumni play, they are the one who are come under show consideration. Occasional volunteers, I would say not that much, but maybe it depends upon your school as well. Yeah. Government official, board members, they have lot of influence in your school. So they have to either in key players or meet their needs bucket. Yeah. So by doing this stakeholder mapping, it helps you to engage with the stakeholder efficiently. So here we talked about a lot of strategy, framework, tools with respect to different components, right? But there are certain things you have to keep in mind while deciding any kind of strategy or tools. The very first thing is that identify your school management goals. What do you want to achieve through school management? Like my academic has to be excellent in, academically, my institution has to be excellent. Or with respect to teacher wise, my school should stand the best, right? Identify what goal you want to achieve. Secondly, understand the current challenges. What is stopping you from achieving that particular goal? Do you have resource constraint or do you have finance constraint? What is the challenge you're facing? Third one, consider resource availability. For example, you want to bring a lot of innovative educational pedagogy in your school, but finance is something which is affecting you, right? Then you should think of something which is feasible for your school currently, improve your finance, and then come back to the pedagogy, right? Fourth one, always make sure your decisions are data driven, because do not take any decision with assumption or just hearing from one or two people, because that will not be very logical or doesn't have any impact in long term. Make sure every decision you are taking has some logic or rationale behind. Final one is feedback and analysis. Whenever you're choosing any strategy or tool and implementing it, make sure you're collecting feedback either through review or survey or just sharing an opinion type. Understand how well this particular strategy or tool is working for you. Are you in the right direction or you need to take some corrective measures? So these are the few things which you have to keep in mind. Moving forward, let's also look at the case study, right? We have talked a lot about, theoretically a lot about, let's see how well we are able to put our theoretical knowledge in practice. So in case one, if you see, there's a school leader of ABC school. He's struggling with financial management, but he has a good enrollment. He has 1,000 students and the fee collection is consistent, right? Despite regular income, the school at end of every quarter has some financial crisis, right? So what do you think the school leader should take? What step he should take to address this issue? So I'm going to launch a poll here. So you have options here. You can also check the options in the screen as well. One is he should focus on increasing student fee for the next quarter, or you should opt for more loan to cover his unnecessary expenses, or implement financial management strategy to avoid non-essential financial activities. So far, only 20% of the people have voted. I'll wait for 1 more minute to close this. Okay, half of the people have voted. So I'm going to publish the result. So as you can see, most of the people said implement financial management strategy. Yes, that is the best tool which will have result immediately as well as in long term, right? Next, second case study is that there's a correspondent of school XYZ, right? Who actively interacts with all the stakeholders, very, very engaged type. He has wanted to engage with all the stakeholders, but this is affecting his work because he doesn't have enough time to focus on his priority, and he doesn't have time to focus on all these things, right? His task is getting delayed. So to overcome this challenge, what would be the appropriate strategy for him to start with? He's engaging too much with the stakeholders. I'm going to launch a poll again for this. So here you have choices, right? The first one is avoid any stakeholder from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The school is not going to meet anyone. Or use stakeholder engagement mapping to prioritize their engagement. Or focus on his work post school hours. So far, only 20% of people have voted. I would encourage everyone to vote so that we can see like how much we're able to get the theoretical knowledge from the session. I'm going to publish the result. As you can see, most of the people said, yes, use stakeholder mapping to prioritize stakeholder engagement because that is the right way to do it. Because working post hours also, it's not going to be efficient because he has a lot of things. It's very important to manage his or her work efficiently. So stakeholder mapping would be the best suitable tool here. Moving forward, I think like let's do a quick summary of like what did we see in today's session, right? So successful school management always starts with a clear vision, right? The school leader should know where he want to take his school in the next coming years, build that kind of team culture in his within the staffs he is having, and that will have a strong foundation for the school excellence. Second is that choosing efficient strategy is very, very important, and making sure that you have enough resources to make sure the strategy is being implemented properly. Third one is this particular school management excellence is a continuous process, right? It's not one time action. You take lot of steps to make sure that all these data driven decision, you will like continuously see whether this is actually having some kind of effect in my institution. Are we getting any kind of outcome from this? If not, let's improve. So it's a continuous process, I would say. So these are the few things which we have seen in today's session. So my recommendation for all of you would be like, please go through each and every tool for each and every component and start practicing these tools to have a better understanding about the school management and efficiently using it. The next slide, we will also look at briefly about Martana's partners academic solution. So you must have heard about LEAD program earlier. It's a very integrated, innovative tech-based learning solution. It will assist you in developing your curriculum and teaching methods, also getting books. So it also helps set the international standards for your school and also gives an excellence in English and coding skills. And we also have a second partner who is called Kayan Knowledge Vehicle. We also did a webinar with them to understand how a portable projector can help you to get a like ultra large display which helps you has like a lot of engaging content and stimulating learning experience which will create vibrant interactive learning classroom in your school. So if you want to know about like these kind of academic solution partners with us, please reach out to us. We will also the next slide will show you the contact number and email id. Reach out to us through hello@vartana.com, or you can contact us through our number for any queries related to a product or financial loans as well.